Hello everyone. On behalf of DPS, I would like to welcome you to this month's webcast on DPS Extend pricing options. My name is Ryan Ingram and I'll be your presenter today. During this webcast, if you need to communicate with us, please use the chat pane on GoToMeeting. There will be a question and answer session after the webcast, so if you would like to ask us some questions, please stick around. Extend's pricing is extremely flexible. What I hope to accomplish today is to take any level of complexity out of that for you. We're going to discuss how pricing is retrieved within Extend and a hierarchy with which that follows. We're also going to cover some of the different pricing options and pricing functions available within Extend. What I'd like to start with today is we're going to start by talking about the pricing hierarchy. The basic logic in pricing items on a customer order is to interactively calculate the base price for each item. Once the individual price is determined, it is extended by the order quantity and sales tax is calculated. After miscellaneous charges are accumulated and totaled, promotional discounts are calculated and applied to determine the total line price and total order price. Now, the actual item price that's used on an order is determined in multiple ways. It could be a manual override, it could be a contract that's out there, a rule in the item pricing file, such as a customer price code, or perhaps we have a default price category that we're going to use. Or finally, maybe there's no rules in the way and we use the list price of the item. But let's dig into these a little bit and discuss what exactly this hierarchy means. So the system will price all line items where the price is not manually entered or where the price is treated as a manual entry. Manual pricing is defined as any price that is arrived to by user entry, or it could possibly be arrived at by a quote that is turned into an order. We would retain that quote price as a manual price. And then finally, we would consider a back order. The price associated with a back order would be considered a manual price. System assigned or calculated pricing is recalculated each time an order line is maintained, with the exception of those manually entered pieces that we just discussed. When we talk about manual overrides, though, normally we're talking about someone keying in a price into order entry. When they do that, this price that they've keyed in trumps all the other prices. Likely the price was something different, something that was non-standard. Otherwise the system would have populated the price for you. So with this being said, manual overrides are fairly easy to understand, and they do fall at the very top of our hierarchy. Next in line would be contract pricing. This function allows special prices to be assigned to items for one or more selected customers. It's possible to assign multiple customers to a single contract and for multiple contracts to exist for a single customer. With this type of flexibility, the possibility exists for a customer to have more than one single price for an item. When this occurs, a determination must be made at the company level as to which price would be assigned. And the way we do that is we look at the oldest price based on the effective date, or the best priced, and that is determined by a company level flag. The flag must be, if you leave the flag blank, this will cause all contract pricing to be inactivated. It's not possible to have quantity break pricing with an individual contract file. Contract pricing takes priority over item promotional pricing. But with recent changes, contract pricing can exist with promotional pricing on a case-by-case basis if you desire. So going back to our order entry example, if a contract price was available for a customer, in the case of this inquiry screenshot that I have here, you'll see that item number C0074 is on a contract for our customer, and that it is effective as of this date. Then that contract price will be pulled into order entry, as long as there's no other manual override that is preventing that from happening. Just a note, the customer does have to allow contract pricing. I know I've said that, but if that flag is a no, or if the customer is set up as to not allow contract pricing, even if you have the contract set up and that customer number in that contract, it won't be pulled into our order detail. So, now, in the event that we don't find a contract price associated with this item for this customer, we move on down the line to our next step in our hierarchy, which is looking for a customer pricing code. Now, the way that the customer pricing code works is that a value is set in the customer master, and then it is matched with a value that is associated with an item in the item pricing file. Now, the customer master value can be overridden in order entry. So in our case, if we have pricing code AA associated with our customer number 100 here, we could easily change that to A2 or B0 or whatever pricing code we wanted to use. So what that means is that the value in the customer master is really just a default value. And the way this works is we'll look at this code for this customer, and as you put items onto your order, we'll go out to the item pricing file maintenance and see if we can get a match on that. And in this case, for this item, I did have a match. And you'll see a couple things here. Oh, too fast. Sorry about that. You'll see that I have effective dates. So I can have two potential prices here, and the one that's effective as of this date is the one that will get picked up and used. What you'll also notice is that this shares the method code logic that promotions and contracts share, and we'll discuss that a little more later on. A couple of notes here for you. First, it is not possible to have quantity price breaks when using the customer assigned price code. Quantity isn't considered. Second, to make things a little bit easier, instead of having a record for each individual item, you can actually set up item class pricing, which allows you to group like items together for pricing purposes. Advantage of this would be much easier maintenance, and you can do this by going to the item pricing file maintenance and using the item class field and utilizing the item pricing class out of the item master file. So just a couple of notes there. So now finally, if we don't find a customer pricing record, then we might go down and hit the next step in our hierarchy, which would be the default price category. The default pricing category allows for using a default pricing matrix by item and/or item price class, which the system would use for price lookup when no customer price code or price category is assigned to a customer or order. The system will use the first alphanumeric price code or category record that it can find in the pricing file for that item or item pricing class. This is also available for override in the order header screen. So if you utilize it, it can be changed there. The primary purpose of these pricing categories is to group like items together for the purpose of applying quantity breaks in the item pricing file maintenance. So if we don't get a hit in this level of the hierarchy, then what we'll do is we'll fall through to our next level of our hierarchy, which is the item pricing file. Now, we've looked at the item pricing file before in some of the upper hierarchies stages, but this stage is unique because we're not going to go out and look for a customer relationship. What we're looking for here is if there is an item rule set up in the item pricing file that we could use to retrieve pricing. Now, a note, we could have multiple records in the item pricing file maintenance for one item. And what we're going to do is we're going to find the first one that meets our criteria, and we're going to use that record. Now, if for some reason we don't get a hit in our item pricing file, we'll fall through to the very last stage of our pricing hierarchy, which is the list price. Now, this is the same list price that you see in item master, and the only way that you get here is if there is no other rule in place. So taking a look at our item master screen, you see the list price field, and you see that we have two prices in there because the list price can have effective dates applied. Now, we talked about effective dates earlier on in the presentation, and we'll talk about it a little bit more as it goes on, and I want to clarify what effective date really means. Effective date, whenever it refers to pricing, is either based on the order date or the requested ship date, and not necessarily today's date. So depending on the rule that you have established in the company file, that will determine what pricing you may see if your date, especially if your dates are close, or if you're right around the date where the switch may occur between those two effective dates. So that's in a nutshell how the hierarchy of pricing out of order entry works. We go through and look for manual entries. If there's a manual entry, we'll never change it. Otherwise, we'll look to see if there's a contract out there for your customer, and we'll honor that first. If we don't find a contract for that item customer combination, then we'll move on and we'll look to see if there's a customer pricing code. If there's no customer pricing code that matches the item, then we'll move on and see if there's some sort of a default price category that we can use. And if there's not a default price category for us to use, then we'll fall through once again to our item pricing file category and look for an item record by itself. And finally, if none of those apply, we will go ahead and offer list price. So moving beyond the hierarchy that we've discussed, let's talk about some of the pricing functions and the features. I've mentioned pricing methods several times in this presentation, so it deserves a little more explanation. It's definitely not a complicated topic here. So the way that a pricing method works, and you saw this in contract, file maintenance, and item pricing, and you'll see it in promotions whenever we get there, is that you can decide whether pricing is either a fixed price, meaning that if you say the pricing for that record is $10, then it's $10. Or you can say that it's list less, which means we'll take a percentage off of your list price, and that gives you a little more flexibility in maybe doing mass updates to prices. Or we can do cost plus pricing, which would give you a percentage above the cost that you receive the item as. So in a nutshell, there's not much to pricing methods, but we've mentioned them several times, so I wanted to cover them. I mentioned that I might bring up something that was a little obscure, and I don't know if any of you are using this. If not, you'll learn something new today. You can do multiple units of measure and have quantity break pricing with those. Let me start this by giving you a little technical information about what this is and what it does. It is possible to have different quantity breaks for different units of measure based on the alternate unit of measure found in the item master file. The quantity breaks will be calculated based on the order quantity that's appropriate to the entered unit of measure. In other words, if the unit of measure is found in the pricing file, then the quantity break will be based on that unit of measure. If the unit of measure is not found, then the default pricing unit of measure will be substituted. When this occurs, the quantity is converted to the default pricing unit of measure, and pricing will be calculated based on the default unit of measure for quantity break pricing purposes. Now, if neither the entered unit of measure or the default unit of measure are found in the pricing file, a pricing error will result. In the pricing file, there are no requirements that a particular unit of measure be entered, so keep that in mind. We can use this screen print to help illustrate these points. In this situation, we have price code A0, and you'll notice that that exists 3 times, one with each unit of measure. We have an each, a box, and a case. And because of this, we can look up the appropriate unit of measure from order entry and apply the appropriate quantity price tiering based on these item pricing file rules. So this is something that's been asked of me several times whenever I was going through installations and go-lives. So great info. If you didn't know it, now you know something new. If you have additional questions on this, because it can be a little complicated, feel free to give me a call. Okay, on to the next topic, which is special pricing in the item master. Um, there's a feature in the item master that allows a special pricing provision. And what this does is allows the user to accomplish some different types of manipulation at pricing time where standard normal DPS extend pricing just won't accomplish what's desired. An example is that inventory could be kept and sold in eaches, but it could be priced in the square feet, or it can be sold by eaches and priced by the thousand. Prices can be a unit of measure that is even not one of the item master's alternate unit of measures. The special pricing determines a unit price for the quantity entered based on the pricing record that's found. If you're going to use special pricing, it's best to only define the special pricing unit of measure in the pricing file. So like I said, some of this stuff's a little more obscure, and some of you may not have used it before, but maybe you learned something new off of this also. Another great way to modify pricing out of order entry is by taking advantage of our promotion programs. Promotion pricing differs from contract pricing. With promotion pricing, you can discount individual items, or you can offer an off-invoice discount if certain conditions are met. You can also apply promotions and contracts at the same time if you desire. If you don't desire, and I can see why in some situations that wouldn't be desirable, it's not a requirement by far. With item discounting, there's a very unique feature with promotions. It's called assortments. And what assortments are they allow you to offer specials or deals when somebody buys a group of items. Let's say that you had 10 cases of your favorite product, and if you were getting a special from your vendor, or for whatever reason you wanted to offer a discount, you could say, if you buy 10 cases, you get so much off of this purchase. Now we have some development in the work that should be done fairly soon that is going to allow you to say, with promotions, to say, buy 10 of this item and get one free, or buy 10 of this item and get another type of item for free. And that item will show up as a separate line item on the invoice. That, like I said, that's in research and development right now, but we expect to have that reasonably soon. So should be exciting stuff happening with promotions. Some notes with promotional pricing. Promotions are applied at the time that you accept an order. They're not applied in real time. So if you have a promotion going on for 10 cases of your favorite item, and someone orders those 10 cases of your favorite item, then on the order details screen, you don't see that pricing, that promotional price reflected. What you will see is that the price will be high, or you'll see a highlight that will say promotions are available on some items. So you can look to see what items would have promotions. Whenever you finally approve the order, at that point in time, the promotional pricing is then applied. The reason for that is because of the assortments we discussed. You can be keying in any number of items on the order, so we don't calculate this at a line item level. At least we don't until you accept the order. While on the topic of promotions, we should discuss off-invoice discounting. Up to this point, we're talking about line item discounting, but it's also possible to take a discount amount off of the final invoice total rather than having that tied to a line item. So just be aware that whenever you're doing promotions, you have multiple options. You can do item discounting, line item discounting with assortments, and you can also do off-invoice discounting that will take the discount off of the final invoice total. Like I mentioned before, you can do promotions with in association with contracts. So between those tools, you wind up with a very, very powerful arsenal that you can use whenever coming up with and manipulating pricing models for your customer. Now, while I don't have a slide for it, we do also have other ways to do off-invoice discounting. One of those ways, probably the most popular way other than with promotional discounts, is by setting up codes at the customer level, promotion codes at the customer level, that are then tied back to a message code that is tied back to the general ledger. And you can apply off-invoice discounts at the customer level in that fashion. So figured just in the sense of making this a complete discussion that I should bring that up. The next thing I'd like to cover is company level quantity and price discounts. The way that this works is that there is a table in the company file maintenance that allows you to establish break levels based on quantity sold or total weight on an order or total price of an order. So whenever your customer's order reaches that break level, whether it's quantity, weight, or price, they will get the discount that you have set up. Don't get this confused with the quantity discounts that are in the item pricing file maintenance. You can actually use this table that's in the company file from item pricing file maintenance. There's just some rules that you have to follow, and that's beyond the scope of this webcast. If you have questions about that, please give us a call. But I just wanted to let you know that this is another option. I don't think that a lot of customers know about it, so I thought I'd bring it up here. Now, in order for your order to allow company level quantity or price discounts, it first has to allow it in the order header. And there's a flag there that you'll see down here that says price tier quantity discounts allowed. And if it's set to a P, it's going to allow price level discounts, so a total a percentage off a total dollar value when you reach a certain dollar value. The yes or no values would allow or disallow quantity level discounts. So in conclusion, I know we've covered a lot today, and there's more to pricing than just this, more than we can fit into a nice 20 to 30 minute webcast, but hopefully you've seen something that you can use. If you find that you need additional training on pricing, or you'd like to discuss some of the options that we've talked about and you would rather not do it in the question and answer session, please call us at DPS. You can call your project leader, our support staff, or your sales rep, and we'll set something up. Other than that, I want to thank you all for joining us for today's webcast, and I look forward to seeing you at the next one. And please stick around for a few minutes while we get this set up for the question and answer session, and we'll be right back with you. Thank you.